Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news transfer news update show today, discussing all the latest Manchester United news that is coming this morning. We don't often do lunchtime live streams, but when I say a lot of Manchester United news has come in this morning and it's going to be a big week, I thought I have to go and do a lunchtime show on the channel. We are talking Harry Maguire leaving, McTominay leaving, Fred leaving, Donny leaving, Dean Henderson leaving, even Facundo Pellistri leaving. We're hearing that there could be between 5 to 10 deals between now and the end of the transfer window, and that there could be at least 2 to 3 deals done within the next week. This is going to be a massive week for Manchester United. This is going to be a massive week for movement. West Ham set to go back in for McTominay and Maguire, reportedly thinking of doing a 35-40 million bid for McTominay. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed Fred will 100% leave, and that the reason Hojlund's not been given a number is because they expect Fred to leave this week and announce Hojlund 17. Mike Keegan, another very reliable source, said that there will be 2 new deals happening this week at Manchester United, and with Maguire been told by Ten Hag repeatedly, you're not in the plan. If West Ham do go back in and make a move for Harry Maguire, United will go and get Todibo. Now, there are reports that Juventus are trying to hijack Amrabat. However, reliable sources said Amrabat only wants United. He's already rejected a number of other clubs for United. Does he want to play in no Europe with Juventus and stay in Italy, or does he want to go to one of the best leagues in the world, the Premier League, and play in the Champions League? Well, I think we know the answer to that. But the Amrabat deal is expected to actually be done this week. There are some reports coming on that the Amrabat signing could be complete this week, and that is because McTominay, Fred, and Donny could all leave within the next week. Dean Henderson's situation is a little bit difficult because Dean Henderson actually has an injury. Maguire's situation, that is dependent on the bids. Manchester United will not accept anything under 30 million for Harry Maguire. But if Manchester United do sell Harry Maguire, Fabrizio Romano has confirmed Todibo is the choice. They've also got Benjamin Pavard on their list, Andreas Christensen on their list. And they, if United can get their sales done, do not rule out 2-3 more signings for Manchester United. I really want to get into the McTominay, Maguire, Fred, and Donny Van de Beek news, because the one criticism I've had so far this transfer window for Manchester United is actually they've been very slow at getting players out. They need to hurry up and get players out, and it looks like things are moving. Victor Osimhen to United would be nice, but don't think it happened. Mason Mount needs time to settle in. Exactly. Smash the like button, guys, though. So we're going to start with the McTominay-Maguire situation, because Manchester United could get a combined 70 million from West Ham for McTominay and Maguire. It was said, having reached an agreement in principle with Edson Alvarez, which I think is really good business by West Ham are expected to go back in for United's Maguire and McTominay. Now, I actually think now they've got Edson Alvarez as a DM. McTominay is a good signing for West Ham, because McTominay is an improvement on Souček. McTominay cannot do the Declan Rice role. He's not an improvement on Declan Rice. But McTominay is an improvement on Souček. McTominay and Alvarez for West Ham is a good midfield rebuild. Harry Maguire improves the West Ham backline. And I'm not saying that because I want West Ham to buy Maguire and McTominay, but I'm also saying that because I want West Ham to buy Maguire and McTominay. But they're good signings. But there's a feeling that West Ham are actually now going to prepare a bid in the region of around £35 million for Scott McTominay. And United could get a combined 60 to 70 million from West Ham for McTominay and Maguire. Now, if Manchester United can get 60 million for these two combined, they said expect a big new signing. Now, Manchester United's Amrabat is dependent on Fred and Donny. Remember this. Amrabat is dependent on Fred and Donny. Amrabat's actually dependent on Fred. Fred will leave this week, confirmed 100%. So Amrabat should sign this week. Amrabat is dependent on Fred. Fred is leaving. That is confirmed. Fulham apparently going to put a bid for Fred. Saudi Arabia want Fred. Lazio want Fred. Fred is leaving Manchester United. Amrabat is the replacement for Fred. But if we sell Maguire and McTominay for a combined 70 million, that gives United £70 million to get one more signing after Amrabat. Now, that looks like Todibo would come in, but could be 2 more signings, because McTominay and Maguire, we're going to say £65 million because it's United. McTominay and Maguire, £65 million. Okay, we get Todibo for £35 million to replace Maguire. United still have £30 million left to potentially get in a third signing when Ten Hag wants a versatile forward. So I want you in the chat, because there's not many people I can think off the top of my head. Taremi's just an experienced striker. Is there any attacker on the market that's in that 30 to 40 million range that, let's say we sell McTominay, Maguire, Donny, Fred, and Dean Henderson, that you would like United to pursue? On top of, Amrabat is coming in to replace Fred. Then it will be Todibo if Maguire is sold. But if Maguire and McTominay are sold, who would you spend that funds on an attacker? Let me know in the chat. But quite a lot was said on Harry Maguire today. There is an expectation that Maguire might kind of realise that his time is up at United. West Ham are coming in for Maguire. I know Maguire was reportedly insulted by a 20 million bid, and it was insulted that West Ham only bid 20 million for him. But the thing with Maguire is, and I don't agree with the booing of Maguire, but if you are constantly being booed, I think it's a sign. I'm not saying that Maguire should be booed, but I think it is a sign that you need to go. He gave Tom Heaton captaincy over you. Your fifth choice centre back. You're being booed. You've been stripped of captaincy. There's not really much. There's not really much here if you decide to stay. And this isn't me going in on Maguire. I've said on this channel, I have no issue if actually Maguire stays, because I think if we can't get Todibo, I don't think there's a very good replacement out there for Maguire within budget. I said I don't have a personal issue with Maguire. But for me, the fact that he doesn't want to go, and like McTominay wants to go, Donny wants to go, Fred wants to go. McTominay, Donny, Fred, and Maguire were all told they weren't in the plans. 3 of those 4 players are actively looking for moves to go. Maguire wants to stay, even though he was told he wasn't in the plans. And it's that lack of ambition from Harry Maguire that I do find quite concerning. Now, I think McTominay is set to go. Lots of reliable sources saying McTominay is set to leave Manchester United. And I'm going to get into the McTominay story in just a second. And I do want to get into the Amrabat news. There's a little bit of takeover stuff, so maybe we'll address the takeover as well. But yeah, it's gotten quite toxic around Maguire. There's no way back. Best for all involved to part ways. And that is the thing with Maguire. I don't think he's a bad centre-back. I don't personally have an issue with him being a 4th, 5th choice centre-back, but on his wages, he shouldn't be a 4th, 5th choice centre-back. And the thing is that he's clearly not wanted. It's clearly toxic, as Alex has said. And it is better for Maguire. It's probably better for Manchester United if he does leave. For him to stay here, I think it does show a bit of a lack of ambition. It was said as well that West Ham are going to put in another offer for Maguire. West Ham could put 30 million in for Maguire. And there are a lot of sources, like even ex-West Ham United employee, who's reportedly a really good West Ham source, has been saying for a while, while Maguire's reluctant to leave West Ham will not end their interest in Harry Maguire. But West Ham's focus is actually McTominay over Maguire. McTominay reportedly has actually said to West Ham he'd like to come. McTominay has apparently told David Moyes he'd be interested in joining. So I think McTominay to West Ham is more possible. But Maguire could be on the way out. It was said that West Ham have requested medical notes for Harry Maguire. West Ham have obviously tried to do a medical for Harry Maguire, requesting notes for him. So, they've also done the same for McTominay as well. But I think the problem is West Ham put a 20 million bid in for Maguire. Maguire said no. McTominay said to West Ham, you will come. But West Ham haven't put a bid in for Maguire. But apparently they will. Now, more sources have come out and discussed, obviously, Maguire to West Ham, and then I will get into the Amrabat Todibo news. And it was said, a source, Harry Maguire is unready to take a pay cut and is not keen to leave West Ham. This is the problem. West Ham United want Harry Maguire, but Harry Maguire knows at West Ham United his wages will be half. He's unready to take a pay cut, and that's really sad, because if you're captain of Manchester United, you're meant to be an example, you're meant to be a leader, you're meant to have this top mentality. If the captain of our club would rather sit and be a 5th choice centre-back on the bench and barely play just because he's going to get a load more money than move to a club, prove himself, prove his haters wrong, and be one of West Ham's best players, it makes me think, no wonder this club lacked this last 3 years, when the leader, the guy that was captain, meant to be setting an example for 3 years, would rather sit on the bench as 5th choice centre-back after being booed by fans, told he's not in the manager's plan, so he can get over 200 grand a week, when he could completely clear his name. Because Maguire is bullied online. Maguire does get far too much hate online, and Maguire is not as bad as people make out. And he has an opportunity to go, I know I'm a good player. People are picking on me because I'm at United. I'm going to go to West Ham, be one of their best players. People have put Moyes down to be sacked, have a solid season for West Ham, and show everyone that I am a solid centre-back. And that I'm just another one of those players that went to United and just couldn't do it for United. But instead, he's just like, 200 grand a week, sit on the bench, 5th choice. Ten Hag wants you out and he wants Todibo in. If Todibo comes in and Juventus are interested in Todibo for Maguire, that is good business. You get Maguire out, a centre-back that's no longer captain, that's fallen out with the fans, so that's not been good enough for United, time and time out again, always makes mistakes. You replace him with a young, exciting football centre-back that suits Ten Hag's system. That's what Ten Hag wants to do. Maguire has been told, if we can't find a replacement for you, we're happy for you to stay because Kim Min-jae's gone. But Maguire was told in May, we want Kim Min-jae and we want you out. Maguire didn't want to leave. Maguire's been told again, you're not in the plans. He's not done enough in pre-season to go, he's going to play over Varane and Lindelof. And yes, Varane's going to get injured. But it's increasingly obvious that Harry Maguire is not going to play a lot of minutes. So the fact that he doesn't want to take a wage cut and leave, I think is very disappointing from Harry Maguire as well. City or any competent club will have torn his contract and thrown it in the dustbin. United too soft. Well, United won't do that because I know people are quite negative on Harry Maguire, but Harry Maguire will be of some use next season. It would be silly. I know a lot of people go, yeah, like let's rip Maguire's contract up, let's put it in the bin, la-di-la, la-di-la, la-di-la. I personally think that would be a silly mistake from United because at the end of the day, we do lack depth at centre-back. If we rip Maguire's contract up and when we could get 25, 30 million for him easily, then we don't have that 25, 30 million to spend on a replacement. If we rip Maguire's contract up, if Varane gets injured, it's Martinez and Lindelof, and then we're going into Johnny Evans, who, believe it or not, I don't think is an improvement on Maguire. So United shouldn't rip Maguire's contract up. That would make no logical sense. But there definitely should be a bit more pressure on him to be like, look, you're not in the plans. You need to know as well. But it's take less fees, keep his wages somewhat close to current level, or give him partial pay cut. I know Man United want 40 million. But if West Ham are going to give him 25 million and give him the wages he wants when he leaves, maybe we've got to be in a position when we go to West Ham, you know what? We're going to accept that 25 million as well. But yeah, anyway, let's continue on because there's a lot of news to get through and I don't want to spend half the time talking about Maguire. I wanted to get into the ins. There is news on Donny. There is news on Fred. So let me get into that. But Mike Keegan came out with a big story today. And said, breaking, Manchester United have not given Rasmus Hojlund a squad number yet because they're expecting transfer movement this week. It's been said that United expect a lot of transfer movement this week. This has been said by Mike Keegan, who we know is an incredibly reliable source. That's why we've not given Hojlund a squad number. Remember I said in my video 2 days ago, I said, I've heard some rumours that Man United plan to give Rasmus Hojlund number 17. I said that in my video 2 days ago. I said the plan, what I've heard is United giving Hojlund 17. Fabrizio Romano has said, yeah, Man United are basically waiting for Fred to go so they can give Hojlund 17. Basically, Manchester United expect Fred to leave this week. Fabrizio Romano said Fred will 100% leave. Manchester United expect a bid and a Fred sale all to come in this week. And once that is done, Manchester United will open official talks with Fiorentina for Amrabat. So the feeling is this week that Fred will leave and Amrabat will join. There's a feeling that West Ham could make a bid for either Maguire or McTominay as well. And there's a feeling that Manchester United could go back in for Todibo and watch Man United in the striker market as well. They are looking at attacking players. Manchester United are looking to sell Donny, McTominay, Maguire, Dean Henderson and Fred all behind the end of the window. And there could be 3 outs within the next week and potentially 2 new signings moving very quick. So obviously Mike Keegan has said United are expecting transfer movement this week, which is why they've not given Hojlund a shirt. Those at Man United believe that Fred will be gone this week. And Mike Keegan added that United are working on a number of deals this week. It's going to be a big, big week. So lots and lots coming in there in regards for Manchester United as well. Kane would be a class signing. You know what? If Kane doesn't leave Tottenham, we go for him in January on the cheap. Hopefully we'd have Qatari owners by January. We will get into some takeover news. And if Kane is available, we go for him 100% on the cheap. Guys, let's hit 300 likes before the end of the live stream. Over 600 people watching, so please do smash that like button if you have not already as well. And 17 is the shirt he's likely to get as well. 17, Andy Cole's initial number. 17 is a good shirt to have as well. I think, do you want to give him number 9 at such a young age? And Martial will cry, how he feels about his number 9 shirt. Probably not worth it as well. We've got another story coming out, and I think this is more of a take it with a pinch of salt story, but I do want to cover this story quickly as well. But it was actually said that Manchester United have rejected a first bid for Scott McTominay from West Ham, claiming they want 40 million. He's also on AS Roma's shortlist. So reportedly, West Ham put in a bid of about 25 million in for McTominay, and they put in a bid of 20 million for Maguire. Now, the 20 million Maguire bid was confirmed by David Ornstein. The 25 million McTominay bid is coming out from less reliable sources, but reportedly West Ham could give us a willing right now to give us 50 million for McTominay and Maguire combined. I think that could be moved up to 60 million. But McTominay also on Roma's list as well and West Ham's list. So United are getting bids in there for McTominay. But, we need, and the reason I'm focusing this video more on the outs is because we know that the ins will happen. We know that there's 2 more ins on United's list. But United can't do the ins until they do the outs. And as Mike Keegan said, United are working on a number of deals this week. I will be very surprised if anybody leaves this week. United are terrible at selling. I absolutely agree where Jackie Harvey is coming from. Manchester United are poor at selling, and it has been a big weak spot. But I generally believe someone will leave this week. Fabrizio Romano and Mike Keegan pretty much saying movement will happen this week. That is the hold up in Rasmus Hojlund's squad number. There is going to be movement at United this week. So personally, I believe there is going to be movement at United this week. I think obviously for us to sign players, we need to sell players, and United are working on a number of deals. For Facundo Pelestri could also be leaving United, but it would be a loan deal. Still not the best loan deal, but we'll get into it. We want to quickly just cover what's going on with Amrabat here. It was said on Amrabat has rejected offers from West Ham and Saudi Arabia. He wants to join United this week and moved to United this week. Is expected to advance. We've got Padella and very reliable Italian sources saying Amrabat to United will advance this week. Fred Sale was very close, and United will go in for Amrabat. So Amrabat to United expected to advance this week. Juventus actually reportedly opened some talks with Amrabat. Fiorentina would rather sell Amrabat to United because obviously we're a different league, and Amrabat reportedly would rather go to United over Juventus, work with Ten Hag again, and also play obviously Champions League football as well. But obviously, it has been said that Amrabat is the priority as well. Juventus is desperately trying to hijack the deal, but it has come out from Italian media, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fiorentina are leaking stuff to Italian media on purpose to try and get United to hurry up. It was said that Erik ten Hag is keen to add another midfielder to his squad with Sofram Amrabat an option, but United will have to offload Fred and Van der Beek. And obviously, you've got breaking news coming in that Juventus are trying really hard to hijack Amrabat. Romano and reliable sources have said Amrabat wants United, said yes to United and only wants United. I think this story has come out by Fiorentina. I think Fiorentina have planted this story to hurry up United. Fiorentina have brought their Amrabat replacement in. Fiorentina know Amrabat is leaving the club. Fiorentina had not played Amrabat in their last 2 pre-season games because they know that he's moving. They know that United are going to make a move for him once they sell Fred this week. But Fiorentina are fed up. They've got the replacement. He's not in the plan. They're going into the start of season with a player that's not going to be here, that they just want to make sure he's sold. And I think Fiorentina personally are planting stories that Juventus could be really close to Amrabat. I think as an attempt to probably hurry Man United up as well. Amrabat on his way. Yeah, the fact that Amrabat's agent's been in England, Amrabat wasn't playing in the preseason games. I'm pretty confident Amrabat's on his way. With the injury to Main and McTominay may not be sold. Potentially, I think Man United's plan will be Maino Amrabat to replace Maino Amrabat, and of course Mount replaced Donny, Donny, Fred, and McTominay. So it's 3 in, 3 out. I guess Maino's not really essentially an in, but it is. Amrabat is a crucial bit of business, been trending in recent seasons. Do you have multiple physical mids in the 11 in big matches? Yeah, Amrabat is needed. We saw so much in pre-season why Amrabat is so needed at United. It was so highlighted in pre-season why Manchester United need to go out there and sign Amrabat. They need a midfielder that's going to help with control. In pre-season, there was a lack of control. There was a lack of control in the midfield, and that was costing Man United. Clear lack of control, clear lack of balance, and Amrabat in certain games will balance the midfield. I like Bruno, I like Mount, I like Casemiro, but of course, in some of those games, that midfield is really going to lack balance, which is exactly why Amrabat is needed as well. David Ornstein did confirm there was a bid there for Harry Maguire, and Donny van der Beek seems very, very close to leaving Manchester United as well. I do want to get into the Todibo news. Fabrizio Romano has spoken about Todibo. We did cover this in my video late last night. But Fabrizio Romano confirmed again today, Manchester United had contacts to be informed on the condition of Jean-Claude Todibo deal. No bid or talks at this stage, as the option could only be activated if Maguire leaves, and Juventus have already left the race. So last week I thought he was going to go to Juventus. He's still very much on the market. He's still a player that Manchester United have open talks with, but they're not in official talks at this stage because they know that Amrabat is the next signing they must do. And this signing could be a late August one, really depending on funds United have as well. Guys, let's push for 300 likes. If you've not hit that like button, please do go ahead and hit that like button. And of course, subscribe down below to the channel if you are new as well. Jackie Harvey says, I'll be surprised if anyone leaves. I read that one out, didn't I, as well? But I'm just going to scroll down the live chat as well. Amrabat does seem to be on his way. 1 DM with 2 creative 8s is coming more rare. Multiple physical mids in the 11 is vital for derbies, especially. For those big games, you need Amrabat, Casemiro, Bruno, midfield 3. You need that physicality. When you're playing a team that you know you're going to dominate possession, you're a lot better than, then you can play with 2 8s. I absolutely agree with Alex here. Are we sure Amrabat's good? He only really played well at the World Cup. He's had 2 really, really good seasons at Fiorentina. He was really, really good against West Ham in the Conference League final. I'm not going to pretend that I've watched Fiorentina a lot or I've watched Amrabat a lot. But yeah, he was incredible in the World Cup, but he has been really good for Fiorentina this season. It's not like he was really good in the World Cup and then it's just been average at Fiorentina. He has been one of Fiorentina's best players. I spoke to one of my friends who is Italian and watches a lot of the Serie A. And while they're not a Fiorentina fan, they said, look, Amrabat is a baller. Amrabat is a very good player, and who's been really solid in the Serie A this season. So I'm very confident on the Amrabat signing being good as well. Charles says, I hope we sign Todibo and Amrabat as well. Sell Maguire, Fred, Donny, but then again, we're soft and poor at selling. United are soft and poor at selling, but I think we will sell players this week. From what the reliable sources are saying, I think I'm pretty confident United are going to sell some players this week as well. Somebody only watched Amrabat from the World Cup and question his quality. I mean, Amrabat was unreal at the World Cup as well. Sociedad should also put in a bid in today. United should call Galatasaray back and cut the valuations of Fred and try and accelerate things. So basically, what's being reported actually is that Galatasaray will not sign Fred. Galatasaray out of the race for Fred because Galatasaray's bid for Fred was absolutely poor. But it has been reported that basically Real Sociedad are going to put in an official offer for Donny van de Beek today. There is reports that United could be getting £25 million for Donny van de Beek. Now, I would be shocked if United do manage to get £25 million for Donny van de Beek. You know that I do love Donny van de Beek. I'm a big fan of him. I actually think he could be quite good this season for United because we're going to play possession-based football. But I don't think we're going to get £25 million for a player that's not played in 3 years. That is the valuation. But there are reports coming in that a £20 million sale and bid for Real Sociedad for Donny van de Beek could be coming this week. There's a reason Donny van de Beek was subbed off at half-time in the game yesterday. They didn't want to get him injured. It's not, that's why he was subbed off. There's a reason that Fred's not played at all in pre-season because they're looking to sell him. Those two players, United, are looking to offload quick. Now, Fulham are reportedly ready to put in a £12 million bid for Fred, but United are going to try and negotiate it up for £15 million. Fulham have not ended their interest in Fred, and so the expectation is that Donny and Fred will both leave Manchester United this week, and that Amrabat will then be signed. So that is actually the news essentially coming in, and obviously we had that big story from Mike Keegan saying that United are expecting multiple transfers this week, not just one deal here, one deal there. There are multiple transfers expected. So I as I said, guys, it's going to be a big week. Rasmus Hojlund, number 17. There's also news that Eric Bailly has been told to basically get out of the club. You're not in my plans. Go to Saudi Arabia, and that United have received 2 offers from Saudi Arabia to Eric Bailly. There's also news that Dean Henderson could go back to Nottingham Forest, but he suffered an injury, which is why they've gone for Matt Turner. And obviously, United are looking for offers for Martial, and Pellistri could go out on loan. So there's lots and lots of news coming in the transfer front. But the most important thing is sales. We can't sign Todibo, we can't sign Amrabat until we get those sales done. Now, it's saying by reliable sources those sales will be done this week, and that there's 2 to 3 players left on United's list. And if United could sell 4 or 5 players, there could even be 3 signings. But big week. We are poor at selling unless we need to sell. We can't have any new addition. Pointless talking about it. We need to sell. But the feeling is Fred and Donny will be sold this week as well. I'm not really talking about MG11 at the moment because it's just a lot of the Sun putting out PR about this player, and United are meant to give us a decision, and I don't really want to talk about it until we get a decision on MG11, because it's like the takeover. It's just like the takeover. We'd be told loads of stories for nothing to happen. So I'm not really interested in MG11 and what's happening. I have a feeling that if they do not tell us by Monday's game before Wolves, I have a feeling that they're going to say it's still under investigation, and then once the transfer window closes, they're going to say, oh, we've had to bring him back because the transfer window's closed. I mean, the longer and longer it goes on, I think the more he's going to come back. But I think there was a month ago, I was told he was going out on loan 100%. United have made that decision. United have gone back on that decision to send him out on loan, it seems. I'm not interested in talking about it until we get news on it, but Romano said we will get news on it this week. Fabrizio Romano has been told from a source that Man United are going to announce what they're doing with the player this week, but I'm not talking about him until we know what's going on as well, because I can't be asked to talk about a player that might not play for United next season but might play for United next season. It's just boring. Do you know what I mean? It's just boring. It's a bit like the takeover. It gets boring, particularly because it's a sensitive topic and people have very strong opinions about it as well. Interesting point here. I want to go back into some news because I have got some stories on the takeover, but it was said here, and this is a good comment, City aren't as strong as last season. They lost Gundogan, Mahrez, Silva and Walker may also leave, and that's true. This is the thing. Arsenal beat City in the Community Shield, but so did Liverpool last season, and Liverpool had a poop season and City won the treble. So the Community Shield, the win doesn't mean a lot. But Man City are nowhere near as strong as they were last season. Kovacic replacing Gundogan. Gundogan's better than Kovacic. Mahrez is gone. Walker might go. They're losing a lot of players. Yes, they've signed Guardiola. They might sign Elise to replace Mahrez, which would be really smart business. But do you think, this is my question to you guys, do you think if Manchester United signed Amrabat and Todibo, do you think we could win the league? Because Manchester City will probably go out and sign Frankie de Jong and Kylian Mbappe probably last week at the window. You know what Man City are like? Oh, and there we go. Man City have signed de Jong and Mbappe next week. That's something Man City would do. But do you actually think, like looking at our side and looking at the fact that Manchester City are nowhere near as strong, do you think that Manchester United could challenge? I don't think we have the best depth. But I know Arsenal won and Arsenal are looking particularly good, but Arsenal are known for being obviously bottlers. I also think there's a lot more pressure on Arsenal. They will be in the Champions League. They'll have to focus surely on other cup competitions. They only focused on the Premier League. I think that they, like United, Arsenal don't have an out-and-out goal scorer. They're kind of just like United in that sense. And there's more pressure on Arsenal because they've spent more money to finish above United. Do you guys think that there could be a chance for United to win the league? Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my... to get another story up on my screen. I've got a really interesting news story to get into, so stay tuned for that. Smash the like button. But if we actually look at United's squad going into next season, considering the signings that we might make, I actually think we've got quite a strong squad. And I'm going to ask you guys, do you think it's capable of winning the league, or do you think it's just not got maybe the depth that we need? Because if you actually look at what could likely be our lineup next season, if Ten Hag gets the players he wants out and the players he wants in, you know, our squad could be something very much like, I think Maino will have a big role. I think McTominay, Fred, and of course Donny are all told they're not in the plans. I think Maino could have an increasing role. But this would obviously be the side, as you can see. Can you see it on the screen? Is that up on the screen here? Let me have a look at this, because I think there's a chance. I don't think we will win the league because I think we just lack that experience. I think we still lack the depth. I still think we are off the likes of course, City and Arsenal. But I do think with City being potentially weaker, I think there could be a sneak win in there for someone like Arsenal or someone like United. I think City is still the favourite, but I do think there could be a sneak win in there. And I wanted to just quickly get this up, and I'm sorry it's taken me a while to do, but this is what we would probably look like going into next season. This is what we probably look like going into next season. Let me know below where you think that will finish. Talking of, though, this was a point I wanted to mention. We should have sorted Dean Henderson sale ages ago. Not sure where he goes now. Dean Henderson's going to be a problem for United. Dean Henderson's going to be a big problem for United. And I don't mean that that Dean Henderson's the problem, but Dean Henderson does not want to be at United. He's miserable at United. He's made it clear he doesn't want to be at United. I know there's an injury issue, which is essentially why he didn't play in pre-season. But Dean Henderson went on the pre-season tour, has trained with United for months to not play. Dean Henderson has basically, we've signed Onana. We've already got the goalkeeper in. Dean Henderson's not in the plan. He's not in Ten Hag's plan. He's not played in pre-season, but we can't seem to sell Dean Henderson because Forest have gone and got the Arsenal second keeper. Now, Forest say they want to get Dean Henderson in on loan. There's mixed reports about Dean Henderson, because I don't know if it's United trying to save face or Dean Henderson trying to save face that no one's actually wanted to buy him. Some reports are coming in and saying the reason that Dean Henderson can't be sold is because of that injury he picked up in January, and that's why he's not been able to play in pre-season. Apparently, Dean Henderson, some sources are coming out, and these are coming out from good sources. Some sources are coming out and saying, look, Dean Henderson is still injured. That is why Dean Henderson is not playing. Other sources are coming out and saying, Man United aren't getting the offers for Dean Henderson. United have given their reserve keeper 150 grand a week. No side outside the top six can afford to give a keeper 150 grand a week. So even though Man City are getting 20 million for a keeper that's only played in League One, United can't even get 15 million for Dean Henderson. He's just not that rated as well. So very mixed reports coming out on the Dean Henderson situation. Guys, if you're watching right now and you're not subscribed to Alice Talks Football, please do hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 70,000 subscribers. We're on 67,215 subscribers. Please keep smashing that subscribe button if you are not subscribed to the channel. And if you already are subscribed, just hit the like button. Helps get the channel further out there as well. I'm just going to scroll down the chat as I'm a little bit behind as well. And we can challenge if Erik ten Hag trusts the entire squad and they're given the time. The bench can be ruthless if given time. I think United don't have the depth to challenge, but if the bench players step up, potentially they could. This isn't a season to put the extra pressure on ourselves. More progress should be the aim, and I agree. I don't expect United to win the league. I think it's between Arsenal and City. I want United to be up there in the race. I want us to finish top 4. I want us to make considerable progress in the style we play. I want us to be closer to the top 2, and I want us to win a trophy. That is my question as well. I'm just scrolling down as well. A lot of people saying no chance. The best we can get is 3rd place. 173 likes, guys. Let's push for the 300 like target as well. We need Amrabat, Todibo, and another striker. And that is Erik ten Hag's plan as well. Aren't Sheffield United back promoted? Maybe they'll go for Dean Henderson again. Don't know their goalkeeper situation. Well, yeah, you never know. I don't know what their goalkeeper situation is either, but Dean Henderson was great at Sheffield United as well. And if Hojlund somehow hits 20 goals, it will be a title challenge season. Have to avoid major injuries. Our depth isn't much. Do you know what really frustrates me this season? Do you know what's really, really frustrated me is the injuries at Manchester United. With injury after injury after injury. Maino injured, Ahmad injured already. Hojlund injured this season. The problem with United, and Rafael Varane tweeted about it, there's just too many games. There's just too many games, and so many players are getting injured, and that's what's really worrying me about next season. I think it might come down to injuries. You know, we were probably the unluckiest with injuries out of all sides. If we have luck with injuries, we'll be fine. But I think, you know, we just seem to be incredibly unlucky with injuries at the moment. I'm just going to get into some more news coming out on the screen, people. Now the story's just broken here that Eric Bailly, Fred and Donny van de Beek are all close to leaving Manchester United. These 3 players reportedly will leave Manchester United within the next week as well. But hopefully Maino and Ahmad aren't going to be back until probably October time, which again, first 2 months of the season, about 2 of our most exciting young players. It is incredibly frustrating. I can't lie to you as well. I want to get Rafael Varane obviously put a statement out, and I'm sure you saw Rafael Varane's statement, but it's not helping. Squad depth is more and more needed because of the games. Rafael Varane actually said today, we had a meeting last week with the FA and they recommended these new rules. He said, Varane said, for managers and players, we have shared our concerns for many years now that there are way too many games for footballers. The schedule is overcrowded and is at dangerous levels for players' physical and mental well-being, which is true. I think, you know, the Champions League's added way more games. There's so many games, it's not fair on the players. He said, despite our previous feedback, they've now recommended for the next season longer games, more intensity, less emotion to be shown by players. We just want to be in good condition on the pitch to give 100% to our club and fans. Why are opinions not being heard? He said, as a player, I feel privileged to do the job and play for United. I love playing every day, but I feel these changes are damaging our game. We want to be at the maximum level and the best we can be to put amazing performances on for the fans each week. I believe it's important that we, players and managers, highlight these important issues as we want to protect the game we love and give the fans our best. And it's true. I know there's a lot of time wasting. I know the ball gets played out a lot, but I think Rafael Varane is right. There's going to be 5 more games this season because of the Champions League format. There's always those pointless international friendlies that they bang on about. You know, we are at injury risk because of all these changes as well. Hojlund's not available for the first Premier League match, people, as well. And City set the new standard, having basically 2 world-class 11s, and we're still way off that as well. Do you know what's mad is a player like Phil Foden for Man City can't even start. Manchester City basically have 2 starting 11s that players like Phil Foden for Man City can't start. The amount of players on the Manchester City bench that would actually start week in, week out for Manchester United is crazy. They would start week in, week out. Kane wages would attract every mercenary. Apparently, the report that Kane wants 575k a week to play for United is not true. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't see Bayern playing those kind of wages as well. If Trossard could drop in form, I don't see Arsenal challenging. He's had to save them one too many times. Yeah, I have to say Martinelli was poor yesterday, but Julian Timber was good for Arsenal. I did watch the Arsenal game alongside the United game as well. And Varane is perfectly right. What he's saying, 100% agree with him. And I 100% agree with him. You know, the players play too many games. The new Champions League format they're introducing next season is way more games as well. Even the likes of Julian Alvarez would start for 95% clubs in the world. That's the thing. Julian Alvarez, Phil Foden, even players like Jesus and Sterling in the last season at City didn't start week in, week out. Mahrez didn't start week in, week out. But if they played at Man United, they would start week in, week out. Manchester City basically have 2 starting 11s playing week in, week out. And that's what United have got to compete with. And if we've seen our second starting 11, it's not that good. It's Lindelof, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Malacia, McTominay, Fred, Eriksen, Pelistri, probably Sancho, and probably Ahmad if he was fit. You know, our second 11 I don't think is bad. But our second 11 is not like City second 11 with Foden, they had Mahrez, they had Julian Alvarez. They even have players like Calvin Phillips, who United were linked to and United almost signed, and I guess he was injured. But Calvin Phillips was a £60 million guy, and he played about 3 games for City last season, just sat on the bench. Their backup to Rodri is Calvin Phillips. To which that's what we're doing with Amrabat. Our backup to Casemiro will be Amrabat, which I think is better than Calvin Phillips. But City have set the standard. They've got Rodri and then they've got Calvin Phillips. United need to get Casemiro, they need to get Amrabat. Really, if United wanted to be City's level, they'd have Bruno as their main number 10, Mason Mount as their second number 10. They'd have Casemiro as their main 6, Amrabat as the second number 6. They'd probably have someone like Frankie de Jong and then someone like bloody Casado as their second Frankie de Jong position. They would probably be United's 6 midfielders to compete with City. The level you need to be is crazy. And hopefully we do get new owners. Hopefully the Qatari takeover does move on, because I think the only way we can compete with Man City is having owners that are ambitious as well. But I have to say that the transfer window could be very, very good for United. And I actually think if all goes to plan, if we do get the sales out, if we do get the signings, it could be an insane transfer window. As said, Onana, Mount, Hojlund, Amrabat and Todibo in one window could be absolutely insane and fantastic business for United. And that is the plan. There's even talk of another attacker on top of that, but I don't think that will happen as well. Someone said, I feel like the Arsenal City game was rigged. There was a lot of extra time, but the refereeing was awful. Yes, again, refereeing was awful as well. City able to field a better squad because the better transfers, we overpay for every transfer. They have a club with ambitious owners that employ the right people and have an effective strategy. Manchester United have a club with owners with no ambition that want to employ bankers with zero strategy when it comes to transfers. I think United have improved their transfer approach in terms of buying. I don't think we overpaid. I think Mount was maybe a slight overpayment, but I don't think we overpaid for Onana. I think we haven't been as bad as in recent windows. We have got 3 signings in the start of the season. I'm seeing improvement in United. In our outs is horrific. The transfer strategy for the sales at United is absolutely horrific. But I will say I am seeing slow improvements in United's strategy of buying players. This time a year ago, we had Eriksen, who was a free signing, Malassi, who was a bench signing. This time a year ago, for the start of the season, the only first 11 signing we had was of course, Martinez. We had our worst season ever under Oli Ragnick, and we went into the first game of the season with Lisandro Martinez being our only new signing, essentially, because Eriksen was a free, so I don't count it. That was shambles. At least we're going to go into the first game of the season with the goalkeeper that Ten Hag desperately wanted, the centre midfielder that Ten Hag made his priority, and if Rasmus Hojlund wasn't injured, the striker. Now, I still think it's bad that we're going into the first game of the season without a recognised striker, and that we've brought a striker that is injured the first 3 weeks of the season, and that was the striker didn't get any time of pre-season to warm up. I think that is bad. I think that is considerably frustrating, but there is improvements. At least we've got the striker, the midfielder, and the goalkeeper for the first game of the season, and then we will go and wrap up Amrabat, because I've said the way Man United should do is Man United need to make sure they have their 3 most key and important signings each summer here for pre-season before the start of the season, and then in August they can kind of assess whether at any weaknesses, address injuries, address sales, and get that 4th and 5th signing they might need to last minute. Hojlund, Mount and Nana, 3 players that we want first game of the season good. Amrabat and Todibo, that depends on sales, but that's 2 good additions to make after sales. I do think the ins have been good. I think the outs have been poor. I know that Martial, who's going to make a bid for Martial, is on 250 grand a week, always injured. I get why we haven't sold Martial, but what I don't get is how we've not been able to sell Dean Henderson, how Fred didn't even come on pre-season tour, and we've been saying for the last month Fred is leaving, and we've not managed to get a bid of more than 9 million for Fred. The fact that Fred is still a Man United player is a joke. Donny van de Beek, if he is still a Man United player next week after weeks of negotiations with Sociedad, that is a joke. Harry Maguire is difficult to leave because of his wages. Maguire is difficult to leave because no one will bid for him. Harry Maguire leaving depends on Maguire. If Maguire goes, I'm going to cut my wages and move to West Ham, Maguire will go to West Ham. Donny van de Beek wants to go, Fred wants to go, McTominay wants to go. Those moves should happen depending on other clubs. The fact that Dean Henderson's still a player at United is criminal. The only real player we've sold that we went to sell this summer has been, of course, Elanga. And obviously Telles to Saudi Arabia. Eric Bailly is still a Man United player. Brandon Williams is still a Man United player. Brandon Williams should not be, I like Brandon Williams, but he was up for sale last summer and got injured. Alvaro Fernandez and Malassia are better than Brandon Williams. So Brandon Williams still being a Manchester United player is not good enough from the club as well. The lack of outs has not been good enough from United as well. So yeah, Alice, great first 11. We will win a match, but to win trophies, we have to have more depth and quality. I agree. agree. I'm a little bit behind on the live chat, so I'm just scrolling down here as well. And Sancho up front does not work. He's no Haaland. I like Sancho up front as a false nine. I actually prefer Sancho in those central areas. Obviously, he's not Erling Haaland. Obviously, he's not a goal scorer. But Man City actually won the league playing De Bruyne up front in that false nine role. You can be fine having not an out-and-out recognised striker. Obviously, Man City having that out-and-out recognised striker won them the treble in Erling Haaland, and getting that out-and-out recognised striker is very, very important. But I think Sancho can do a job as false nine, but actually I want to see Sancho on the right more. I know he's played false nine throughout most of the preseason and he was good. And I know Antony had a really good game at the weekend, but I thought Sancho ended last season really well on the right because Sancho is very creative. I think when you've got a player like Rasmus Hojlund that's going to need players to feed the ball to him in the box. You've got Rasmus Hojlund, this physical focal point, number 9. When he's going to need players to feed the ball to him in the box. And I actually think having players like Rasmus Hojlund, boom, there in the box, but having players like Jadon Sancho who's going to cross it into Hojlund and give him service could prove more beneficial than, because Antony and Rashford are the same. Antony and Rashford, direct, cut in and score. Garnacho, direct, cut in and score. Pellistri and Sancho offer something different. Pellistri and Sancho like to cross. And I think for me, the best, Man United's best front three, I actually think next season would be Rashford on the left, Hojlund up top, and Sancho on the right. Now, I know that they want to play transition football, and Sancho isn't particularly quick, but I think Sancho on the right, Hojlund up front, and Rashford on the left. I think that could be best suited. Potentially, Antony will adapt his game and be more creative. I think potentially Pellistri, if he does stay, but it looks like Pellistri wants to go, could be good. I think that could be our best thing. Potentially, you could even say you could actually play a midfield three of Casemiro, Sancho, Bruno, and have Sancho central feeding in Hojlund, which might work as well. But I think that would only work against the Luton Towns. I don't think that would work I think that would get absolutely destroyed at the Etihad. But let me know what you think. Yeah, everybody in the chat, let me know what you think Man United's best front three would be. Are you going with Garnacho, Rashford, Antony? You going with Rashford, Hojlund, Antony? You going with Rashford, Antony, Sancho? Let me know in the chat what you think Man United's best front three is. I'm actually really intrigued to see as well. Alice, did you see West Ham have shortlisted Martial as a Scamacca replacement? I think West Ham being linked to all our players for the sake of it. I know West Ham generally have interest in Maguire and McTominay, but at West Ham, like, you know what, we're just going to buy all the Man United players, because you know what, David Moyes, that would be brilliant if you do. But I did see that story. We'll get that story up. I don't see anyone buying Martial just because he's always injured. But if West Ham want to buy Martial, if West Ham want to spend the Declan Rice money and give us like 90 million for Maguire, McTominay and Martial, please do. Take our Triple M, Maguire, McTominay, Martial. Give us 80 million, West Ham. Happy days. If you want to spend your Declan Rice, you know what? Do you know what would be brilliant? Arsenal giving West Ham 105 million for Declan Rice, just so West Ham can buy all our Deadwood off us. Thank you very much, Arsenal. But it was said Anthony Martial is among multiple forwards on West Ham's list. West Ham's list extends to, though no final decision has been made on any particular pathway the club could explore this department. I think Martial is definitely an option for West Ham. I would be very shocked if Martial left this summer. I understand why we can't sell Martial. I am frustrated at United's lack of sales, but I just don't see who wants to spend money on a player that is just constantly injured, constantly inconsistent. Wasn't very good at Sevilla on loan. Look, Martial 9 hyped up Martial FC hyped up Martial. I do like Martial. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's been consistent enough. He's not United level. He needs to go. But I don't see who's going to buy Anthony Martial, in all honesty, with you guys as well. Too early to define our best front three, and you're probably correct with that, Jackie Harvey. And Hojlund, Garnacho, Pellistri, Rashford overrated. I think that's slightly too inexperienced, though. And it's Jadon's last chance. Will be on him to keep the effort and ambition through this season. Yeah, I really, really hope Jadon Sancho does have a good season at United, because it is going to be his last proper season at United. It is almost his last chance as well. And I do worry he might not get a lot of minutes. Sancho arguably was a lot more impressive than Antony in pre-season. Sancho was arguably one of our best players in pre-season. But as we saw that Ten Hag in his main game didn't start Sancho. Ten Hag started Antony. Ten Hag started Garnacho, and he started Rashford. Ten Hag even though Jadon Sancho was really, really good in pre-season, Ten Hag still didn't start in the first game of the season, because Ten Hag spent £80 million on Antony. And Antony's his winger. Of course, he's going to have a slight bias and play Antony. And that's my fear with Sancho. I think he's been good in pre-season, but I'm worried that actually he might not really, especially with Hojlund coming in and Antony being preferred to him, is he going to get the run of games? You know, if he's playing here and there as a bit part player, is that going to be enough? Obviously, if you get your chance, you take your chance. But I did think that Sancho I thought Antony was absolutely fantastic. And this is no hate on Antony. This is no stick on Antony. I actually thought Antony was absolutely fantastic, you know, the other day versus Lens. But it's the fact that actually, really, when you think about it, did Antony deserve to start that game ahead of Sancho based on the preseason performances? No. So I do worry that there could be a lack of chances in there for Sancho as well. Garnacho, Hojlund, Antony, best front three. Rashford is selfish. We need Garnacho and Sancho. I don't think Rashford is selfish, but I think Rashford can be inconsistent. But I think Rashford's definitely up. Like, I know a lot of people don't like Rashford, but he is the only way we score. Rashford's our only attacker that guarantees goals. So to not put Rashford in your main front three, I personally don't understand. Yes, there's inconsistency, but until the others start scoring, I'd keep Rashford in the main front three. Come on, Moyes, get out the deadwood as well. Sancho might not be the fastest, but he's good at carrying the ball and beating his man, because as fast as Antony is, he boxes himself when he finds a final third and the defence can recognise time. And Antony's very predictable as well, and I agree with that as well. But if Ten Hag wants to play transitional football, that is the problem. Does Sancho quite suit that as well? Anything other than a PR loan is a waste of time for Pellistri. Lad is on his way to being a special player. I agree. I could put up with a Bundesliga loan if it was a really good top attacking club like Leipzig. But the fact that the loan options for Pellistri are Boca Juniors and a team in the Netherlands, for me, I think Pellistri can do better than that. If Pellistri goes to someone like Ajax, fine. But or Feyenoord, fine. But we're talking mid-table Netherlands club. For me, I am actually really shocked that someone like Brentford haven't gone in for Pellistri, someone like Burnley haven't gone in for Pellistri. I think he is capable of playing in the Premier League and being a really important player. You know, I'm a big fan of Facundo Pellistri. So, yeah. Someone said, I can't see Sancho being with us next season. We'll have to see. I would offer Sancho to Dortmund for Adeyemi. The kid is electric and can play striker or winger. I think I'm happy to keep Sancho one more season. If he doesn't hit it off, though, I will be looking to sell Sancho at the end of the season as well. If Hojlund hits the ground running, it will be hard for Sancho to 5 minutes. I agree. And Rashford, Hojlund, Sancho would cook. Rashford brings goals no matter what. Hojlund holds up play and lays off in the box. Could help Rashford get better, and Sancho could give service to Hojlund. I agree with you as well. And if Brighton sell Matoma, Pellistri to Brighton would be ideal. Exactly. I think they have signed Mohamed Kudus, who obviously does kind of play as a 10, but also as a right winger in that right half space. So I can't see Brighton going for Pellistri now because of, well, they haven't signed Kudus actually. They haven't signed him yet, but it looks like they're going to sign Kudus. So it might be a difficult one, but I do think if Pellistri went somewhere like Brighton on loan, that'd be good. Brentford could be good. I think Burnley could be good for him. The clubs with the B. I think maybe a Leipzig kind of club could be good for him. But for me, Pellistri needs to go to an Ajax if he's going to go to the Eredivisie. We're not sending him to South America. Keep him in Europe. Keep him at a good club, though, because when we did give him his last 2 loans, we sent him to like the worst and most defensive club in the bloody what do you call it? In the La Liga. We sent him to a club that scores no goals. So thinking you're sending an attacker on loan to a club that scores no goals. You know, and Pellistri was good, even though he didn't get like goals or assists or that. He was a good player for them. But that's, you know, United need to make sure they do the right loans, because I think United have a lot of good young players, but the problem is I don't think we treat them right. I don't think we often do the right loan moves. You know, Pellistri last season, you know, we didn't send him out on loan in January. In the end, he wasn't very happy. Then we didn't play him a lot, and we had a lack of depth. He wasn't happy. You know, Amad Diallo, Rangers loan failed, but Sunderland was a good loan. You know, I think if Mejbri can go to Luton, if Alvaro Fernandez, young left back, has been linked with the move to Burnley. If Burnley get Alvaro Fernandez on loan, Luton get Hannibal Mejbri on loan, and then we can get Pellistri a Premier League loan, that would be fantastic business from United, and that would be exactly what I want to see as well. I have a feeling that Kobbie Mainoo will be better than Amrabat. He looks really good for an 18-year-old. Well, they're very different players. I know Kobbie Mainoo played in that Casemiro role a lot in pre-season, but Kobbie Mainoo is 100% best position would be next to Casemiro as an 8. Amrabat can play Casemiro's role and next to Casemiro. Kobbie Mainoo has shown he can play Casemiro's role and next to Casemiro, but I think Amrabat, you know, is more defensive-minded than Kobbie Mainoo. So I think Man United going into next season, as I said in my lineup, let me get my lineup again. Let me show you it. As I showed you about Man United going into next season, let me get the lineup up here. I think the midfield would be like this. Amrabat would be small Casemiro backup. Mainoo would be seen as Mount backup, because Mainoo was basically told to study the Eriksen role. Mount is coming in to do the Eriksen role, and Eriksen's just going to be back up for Bruno now, and Mount will be back up for Bruno. But Maino was told in May or April, study the Eriksen role. Maino was told by Ten Hag in April, May last year, I've got big plans for you. Study the Eriksen role. Maino was given his own personal fitness plan, his own personal trainer, his own personal tactical sheet, all of these things. Maino was given bags of notes, bags of things to memorize the Eriksen role, to study Eriksen's role, to be that player. Ten Hag wants Maino to be this player who did Eriksen's role that Mount's doing. But Maino, because he's such a good player, is capable of doing this. But I don't think him. I think him and Amrabat will, while they'll be playing similar positions, Ten Hag will want Maino to play next to Casemiro. That's what he did versus Real Madrid. He even moved Bruno out wide for it. And you know I'm not a fan of Bruno out wide. But if we really studied Man United's depth here, you would actually see. I'm going to just do that so we don't have enough. You'd actually see we actually have Mason Mount 7, but you can actually see here how versatile the players are. You've got Rashford, Sancho, and Mount that can play obviously on the wing. You've got Marcus Rashford 10/AM9. You've got Anthony Martial 9. You've got Amad Faku, and you've even got Jadon Sancho 25. Obviously you see there's a lot of versatility. There's even Bruno Fernandes 8. You know, you can see a lot of our midfielders can play out on the wing. You can see that Mount here can play that. That Eriksen role. Obviously Eriksen, and this is assuming Donny, Fred, and McTominay will leave. But you know, Eriksen and Amrabat here. You know, as you can see, we've got a lot of players that can play in these front 5 positions, but only Casemiro and Amrabat, I solely believe, can play in these 2 positions. Maybe he'd try Mainu here, but I don't think that's Mainu's main position. Some people said, oh, could Dan Gore get minutes? I thought Dan Gore was really, really good in pre-season, but don't see Dan Gore getting a lot of minutes. If Mejbri's going out on loan and Mejbri's just a level ahead of Dan Gore, I don't see Dan Gore playing. The only player in the youth academy I see really getting minutes is Maino, and then Ahmad, Faku, Kundo, Pelestri, depending on their loan situation, in all honesty, as well. Maino does look to have the intelligence and versatility that could be developed into any midfield role. Yeah, I think the thing about Maino is he's so young as well that he could be developed or specialised into a certain type of midfielder at his age as well, which I think is totally impressive. I think his best position would be next to Casemiro, but when you're that young, when you're that exciting, I think he could be developed into any kind of player at that age. You've got the guidance of Casemiro, who could help him develop into a good 6. You've got Eriksen, you've got Bruno, you've got Mount around him that could help him develop into a good 8. I think Maino's got everything around him he needs to thrive. Maino's got a good system around him. He's got a good manager that backs him. I think United are playing more positive possession-based football. The fans clearly back Maino. You know, he's clearly rated at Manchester United. So I think there's a lot of things going for Kobbie Maino at United. A lot of positive things as well. Guys, please do smash the like button. Can we hit 300 likes? If you've not hit that like button, please go ahead and do smash that like button as well. Alice, what about Leonardo Santos? Do you mean Leonardo that we're linked to, the striker? Not many updates on him as well. And Amrabat and Casemiro will be good in away games against the top 6. I agree. And Gore is very promising, but would need a few loans. And I agree. Big fan of Dan Gore. I think he's a promising player, but definitely someone in need of a few loans out there, isn't he? A good young player though as well. Mejbri, Gore really impressed me. Alvaro Fernandez really impressed me, but all 3 of them definitely need loans. I think Pelistri could be ready, but again, because he's definitely capable of playing in the Premier League. Yeah. Does anyone know about what Malacia's injury could be? Because we aren't actually sending Alvaro Fernandez out on loan yet. Alvaro Fernandez to Burnley on loan is brilliant, but we've not accepted that offer. Does anyone know what the situation is on Malacia's injury? If it's particularly serious, because that's the only reason I can't understand why we've not let Alvaro Fernandez go to Burnley. I think Burnley would be the ideal club for Alvaro Fernandez's development. I think it would be a brilliant club, and that would be really smart loan. I think Mejbri will go to Luton Town on loan. I think they were obviously holding out on that as well. And guys, please do subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, on the road to 67k. So please do click that subscribe button, people, if you're of course new to the channel as well. But yeah, Malacia's not played in any of the preseason games. He's picked up an injury as well. Garnacho ahead of Shaw would be good. Garnacho ahead of Luke Shaw. So you want Garnacho play left back? Not sure what you're on there. Not sure what you're on there, mate. Need to see Palestri in English football. He's nearly 22. He's had 2 legal loans already. I agree. And Garnacho is perfect for substituting Rashi and Anthony. Garnacho is the perfect impact player off the bench. Always coming in, always raw, always direct, always makes things happen. That's what I love about Garnacho as well. And Rashford and Shaw need to rework their combination play, and we could get more goals created from the left flank. Rashford and Shaw, I think they will pick that up again. I think Rashford and Shaw have always had a good combination. Rashford and Shaw have always worked quite well together. I think Rashford hasn't impressed me too much pre-season, but he's been playing a mixture of on the left and through the middle. But I think, with Rashford, you know what you get. You got a good player there. You've got a player that scores goals. So not too concerned about really what goes on with Rashford. But yeah, pre-season was a little bit concerning in some areas as well. But yeah, guys, please do smash that like button if you have not already. Of course, subscribe down below to the channel. If we only have both Garnacho in Greenwood in attack, I don't know why people keep talking about Mason. We don't know if he's coming back or not. Everyone keeps talking, we could have this. Everyone in every chat. I don't know if he's coming back. I mean, it looks more like he's coming back, but again, I don't know if he's coming back. So, I mean, I know everyone keeps bringing him up, but I don't want to talk about a potential lineup with him in if we don't know if he's coming back or not. And also the fact that if he does come back, how do when was the last time a player had nearly 2 years out of football and came back and hit the ground running was excellent? I think if he does come back, I don't even know if he would be good, and it would take some time. So I'm not too interested in doing starting 11s with him in all honesty as well. And they think they meant in front of Shaw. Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, Garnacho for sure. I was like, Garnacho left back. I was like, what? I think you meant Garnacho in front of Shaw's good. I mean, Garnacho's always good on the left. No, Alice Garnacho instead of Rashford. That makes sense. When someone said Garnacho for Luke Shaw, I was like, what? Garnacho left back. I was like, that would be a waste as well. But yeah, keep smashing the like button. Of course, subscribe down below and share the video as well, people. And yeah, Alvaro could become a top player, but lower Premier League loan, best for his development right now. It's a year and a half, but 2 years, you know what I mean? I think it's a big risk. I think a lot of people realize that if you've not played football for a year and a half, especially with all the mental stuff that Mason's gone through, I'd be very surprised if he came back and hit the ground running. I think he's obviously a very good player, and I think he's very capable of being a top player and coming back for United and being a very, very good player for United if they choose to bring him back. 100%, I think so. But I think it would take time. I don't think he would come back, play his first game, score a hat-trick. I think I think if he does come back, he would, I don't think it would be, I think he could still be a really good player. I think, he still has potential to be a world-class player. He was an unbelievable player, but he's not played football for a year and a half. The last 6 months, he wasn't particularly good for us. No one was particularly good under Ollie. He's not really, I just think it's such a risk. I think you don't. I think a lot of people say bring him back. That's our 9 sorted. That's our right winger sorted. Well, 1, we don't know if he's coming back, but 2, do we know if he'd be good? That is the thing. We don't, and that's how I feel as well. But yeah, how long would it take for him to be match fit? Don't know. I honestly would not know as well. But yeah, we have no idea about MG's level right now. Given all the variables, loan makes most sense. Yeah, I think we just don't know his level. We don't know how good he's been as well. Obviously he is talented, and if he's trained hard and he's kept himself fit, there's no doubt. But also there's the whole mental side. Rashford's a very talented player, but Rashford was awful in that season under Rangnick and Ollie. Absolutely awful. And Rashford said the reason he was awful in that season under Rangnick and Ollie was because his headspace wasn't right. He said mentally, if you're not there in the head, or if you're going through stuff, you're not as good on the pitch. If MG's headspace isn't right, because mentally, he's going to have a lot of fans on him and not a lot of fans not liking him, and there's the whole world's going to be on him. If his headspace is not right as well, it's not just about being a good player, it's about being in the right headspace. When Rashford's headspace was off, he had an awful season, and that's such an important thing to consider in football. People don't realise that you can have all the talent in the world, but if you aren't happy as well, if you're mentally struggling, it really does affect you on the pitch. And that is why Ten Hag gave Jadon Sancho so long off. Ten Hag gave Jadon Sancho quite a long time off football, gave him quite a long break. And that is because Ten Hag knew that Jadon Sancho wasn't there mentally. And Ten Hag knew that to be there on the pitch you have to be there mentally. And Jadon Sancho had some stuff that was going on as well. So there's loads of things that I think affect performance as well. But yeah, Mount and Bruno need to swap on your board. It's Eriksen and Mount that Ten Hag used in the same position. Yeah, I mean we can't swap Bruno and Mount around, to be honest. I just put them there for the sake of it as well. But hoping Hannibal's loan works out, so we are all covered for Eriksen's contract expiration as well. We don't have to buy again. I mean, if Caicedo doesn't go to Chelsea, and I think Caicedo will go to Chelsea, I think he will. But if Caicedo doesn't end up going to Chelsea, I do think that there's a smart one there for United. I do think there's a smart move there for United next year to get Caicedo, but you never know. I think he'll go to Chelsea. Ideal situation, Kane on a free. Caicedo doesn't go to Chelsea. Next summer, Caicedo, Kane to replace Eriksen, Kane in on a free. Big fat centre-back that's brilliant. Big fat right-back that's brilliant. Bish, bash, bosh. That would be the ideal situation as well. But anyway, people, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream. I will say there is meant to be an announcement on Mason and his future this week. And we will talk about Mason if he returns or if he goes out on loan. But the reason he's not in any of my potential lineups or squads, and I know a lot of people go, why is it Mason in there? It's because I don't know if he's coming back or not. I don't know if he's coming back or not. United are delaying the decision. We should find something out this week. And I have to say, at the end of the day, the fact that Manchester United have delayed the Mason decision so long is bad from United. Manchester United need to grow some balls and announce what they're going to do. They need to stop playing with fans' emotion. They need to stop dilly-dallying. The lack of communication is shambles. Manchester United need to hurry up, sell players, sign Amrabat, hopefully get Maguire out, sign Todibo. Manchester United need to let everybody know what's going on with Mason, because I'm fed up of these fake stories. And also Manchester United need to give some clearance on what's going on with the takeover. We're getting these half stories that Qatar are winning, then the next minute we're getting stories that the Glazers are staying. This is a big week for United. 2 sales expected this week, 1 signing expected this week, potentially a big announcement on what happens with Mason this week, and hopefully some more clarity on the takeover. Sky Sports said we were going to find something out on the takeover this week. Big week for Manchester United. Hopefully they clear up some news as well. But yeah, Mount and Amrabat combined basically pays for Caicedo a bit odd they didn't go for him instead. Yeah. But Chelsea needs some midfielders now, don't they? Anyway, smash that like button, subscribe down below if you're new, share the video. Thank you for watching, and bye.